Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for another spoiler discussion. This is for the next episode of Apple TV Plus's Blackbird. This is episode 3. We're about to go in. If you haven't seen the episode yet, go and check it out, and then we will go over all the ins and outs with you. Hopefully, you guys enjoy the commentary. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that bell button. I have my co-lead here, Lucas. What's going on, man?
Hey man, I am ready to talk about this show that and I am ready to apologize to someone because clearly I owe I'm not gonna say his name right. Taron?
Taron Egerton.
Yes. I owe him an apology. In the first 2 episodes, he got out acted. He got ran circles around in the first 2 episodes. And after that, I was like, you know what? I don't know. He could be on screen with Paul too often because Paul is gonna really embarrass him a little bit. And even with me knowing the story, I didn't pick up the point that maybe Tara was doing that for a reason.
Right.
Because this episode, he is phenomenal in this episode.
Yeah, he is.
It is amazing how great he is in this episode.
He's
This is the best performance in this episode. This is the best performance I've ever seen him do. And I loved Rocket Man.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the best I've ever seen him in a stretch of time. It was scenes where I was wondering, I was literally wondering just if he could be possibly the best actor on television. It is sickening what he does in this episode from an acting perspective, and his scenes with Ray Liotta in this episode, his scenes with Paul in this episode, his scenes with the guy who plays the CO in this episode, and the crooked things that happen there.
The guard, the Carter. Yeah,
man, it is amazing the way he pulls off. Even I think it's is that Cecile who plays Rochelle? Is it Rochelle or Janice? I can't remember. The female lead who plays the other cop in this one, the one that recruited him.
Oh yeah,
His scenes with her
agent.
are man, I owe him an apology because I thought Paul was going to run circles around him for this entire miniseries, and he said, "Hold my beer" this episode, and now I must hold my beer.
Oh man, yeah, this is such a really good episode. It is very character actor driven, because, like you said, Taron in this Jimmy really he was kind of like at first in the beginning of the episode he was really kind of scared. Like he was really kind of like, I don't know what to do. I don't even have an angle. I don't understand what's going on. And then he gets a ball dropped on him when his dad shows up. His dad shows up and he's like, "What are you doing here? This is not visiting hours." And he's like, "Yo, these guys are gonna take care of this, okay?" He was like, "Dad," and he said it so calm. He's like, "Nobody's supposed to know I'm a cop's kid."
Yes.
And his mind went, "You just got me killed." And he tried to calm his dad, and he's like, "It's okay. Don't worry about it. It's okay." And then he kind of thought, the guard kind of maybe was going to keep it to himself. But I was like, man, there's an angle coming here. But the guard kind of was like, "Look, man, this happens here and there. Don't worry about it. Like, here's how you can connect to. There's this guy, the old man, talked to him. Everything seemed cool." And then Jimmy realizes that no, the guard is about to play him and play him like a fiddle. And it's crazy how so many different things, so many different threads are happening. Because when he was with the old man, when he was with the guard, when he was with his dad for the second time, because when he was with Ray Liotta the second time, boy, that man Jimmy was pissed. He was like, what's going on? Why is this happening right here? And Ray was like, "No, it's gonna be okay. I'll take care of you, Jimmy." And he was like, "I'm about to be dead in here. I'm about to be dead in here."
Hey.
Okay, bet. I know what I need to do. I need to kill this kid. I think in his head, he's like, I may have to kill the guard to stay alive.
Yes.
Because there's no other options here.
there's literally no other way out of this situation. I love the buildup of his father, even though he's a cop, I'm guessing because it's the illness he was going through.
Yeah.
that he's so naive to things in this episode.
Yeah.
Like when the other guy who basically lied to the dad and told him that Jimmy gave permission to stay at his house. And he's like, "You let him stay in my house?" Like,
Right.
no, I didn't tell him he could do that.
Yeah.
And the dad, then it clicks like, oh my God, like people are really taking advantage of me because of this illness
Yeah.
and everything that Jimmy goes through there. In that moment with Tara, when he's like realizing the danger that he's in. But
Mhm.
I think at that same moment, realizing that he can't get out of this situation.
Right.
Because at the same time, he understands the danger that he's in and he understands there is a way out of this danger. He also understands if I take that way out, I'll never be on the outside to really spend time with my father because he'll die before I get out of prison.
Yeah.
Like that is a heck of a realization that you get multiple times in this episode.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't want to jump the gun, but the scene stealer to me was the last 10 minutes of this. Because initially I kind of like we were kind of rushing to try to see if we can get this discussion, you guys, before transparency. And I was kind of like, look, is anything really big? Should I keep watching? And normally I'll do that because you rushing. But he's like, no, you have to stay. And I am so glad I stayed because Larry takes Jimmy, down to his little shop because they had been interacting. Like Jimmy did a lot of groundwork to try to
Mm-hmm.
befriend him. Like every single time he tried to be nonchalant about it. What won him over was the moment where they were trying to look at I think it was like the unsolved mystery thing that was going on. And like this guy turned the channel and like Jimmy was like, all right, this is what I gotta do. Got it. He just beats the guy almost to death. And Larry kind of saw it. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, okay, he's cool. Why you
Yeah.
stick up for me? And it was like all this interesting build up because even Larry later on, he went and was talking with
The
his
therapy
therapist.
session.
And
Yeah.
the way he was describing Jimmy, I was like,
He
this
said
man
the key part
it
is that he sees me and he doesn't look through me.
through me.
Because keep in mind, if you pay attention to Paul's in a section of the prison where it seems to be people who are mentally challenged.
Right.
So, and a lot of things about people who feel mental or who are possibly mentally challenged
Yeah.
is that a lot of people look through them.
Right.
They don't see them for the person that they are. And this is part of Jimmy's gift. The reason they picked Jimmy
Yep.
with the first thing she said, and I think once say episode 2, everybody likes you
Right.
because he understands how to get on your level and make and become relatable to you.
Yeah.
And in that scene, just off of that, and I'm mad because the guy turned to one of my favorite shows from the 90s, which is Coach. I know a lot of you don't know that. Craig T. Nelson was amazing in Coach. I absolutely love that show. And he turned to the show and then he got the heck beaten out of him by Jimmy. But Jimmy understood in that moment, this is my chance to build a bond. And I'll do whatever I have to build that bond.
Right.
And that was again another great scene of God darn it. Taron Egerton really like he became the guy who I read about in the book before this series in this episode. And
Right.
that's important for this moving forward as you'll see everything unfold afterwards. Not saying that I've seen any episodes in advance. Amazingly, I have not. I only watch an episode as we review it. But like I do know the story, so I do know what Jimmy does to get more and more out of Paul. And in this episode, Tara just becomes way more of what Jimmy was.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating because the build up from that was coming off of the therapy session with the therapist,
Mm-hmm.
and then when Larry takes him down to his little shop, he's like, "Oh, this is my
Mm-hmm.
shop. Take a seat." And Jimmy played it off real well. He's like, "Oh, you the big man in here," kind of butted him up a little bit, and it was good that the cop gave him the file because Jimmy used a lot of that to kind of dissect the conversation without being
Mm-hmm.
so obvious about it. And he kind of, talked about him and sports and like the idea of getting the sport. I think some of it was a little bit of truth with it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And he was like the expectation of being great and getting the girl And then, no, there is no girl. You don't get anything. And then he was kind of talking around, and then they started talking about like, you know, consensual sex and what did that look like? And like
Mm-hmm.
when that conversation started going around where Larry was talking about like it's very hard and it's not really wet, and like I was like, oh my God. And then when they started to go into that conversation and the look on Taryn's face with the
Mm-hmm.
realization of the way this man is describing it versus the look from what's my man that plays Larry? What is his name? Oh my God, because
Paul.
Paul. Oh my Paul. There's a there's a look that Paul gives that's one of the most creepiest things I've seen. And I've seen a lot of horror movies, some sick stuff. I've seen some crazy
Mm-hmm.
animes. But that look that he gave, that was demented. It looked,
It
it
was
was
almost a
off-putting.
realization that uh the way he was describing sex, Larry, is with dead people.
Yeah.
And Jimmy was a little thrown off by that. But also in that scene, you get the vulnerability that Jimmy understood he needed to have
Mm-hmm.
with Larry.
Yep.
That whole football story is, I think, one of the best stories you can ever like put on screen, of him saying, in my mind, this is the American dream.
Right.
This is everything that I'm doing, because again, it goes back to him being a high school superstar in football. He's like, of course the girl would come. Of course my life would be perfect, because that's what's supposed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But when the realization hits that that doesn't happen, how does that impact the person you become?
Right.
He needed he needed Larry to see that vulnerability for them to become closer.
Yep.
And it led to Larry being extremely vulnerable of saying, as he said again, the moment he said it's never wet. That's
Oof.
all you needed to understand the type of intimacy he's talking about.
Right. Yeah. And Jimmy pushed it a little bit further when he was like, he came up with a
Hmm.
story of his own
Yeah.
and how like the girl didn't want to do it. And like, he didn't directly ask Larry anything. Larry just kind of put it off like, oh, really? Oh, that doesn't matter, you know, kind of thing. I was just like, dog, like I felt inside mortified. But then from the critical side, I was like, this is some amazing acting that these men are doing right now. Like
Yep.
the way that it's set up, like it kind of felt really way too real to me. Um, yeah, dude, like Paul is diving in levels that I
Extreme.
are scary to me.
But it's key to the person that Larry is. Again, I brought up last episode. Like, Larry's a very sick individual, and you have to dive deep into this character to make people understand that. Because unfortunately for Jimmy has no real redeeming values.
Mhm.
You can't have two people with no redeeming values go back and forth. So you have to highlight one over the other.
Yeah.
And they rightfully chose to show you that Larry is a complete psychopath in a way. And
Yep.
that Jimmy is doing this for an honest purpose.
Yeah.
But I also think they're doing a great job of really pinpointing to you, don't forget, Jimmy's not an innocent person.
Mm-mm.
He's in a situation of his own doing, his own volition. And it's
Right.
highly important to show that to people.
Right. So yeah, nah, it's crazy because the other thing about it was what's my man name that's a really good actor too that's in this series. It's Greg.
They talk about
Uh
Greg Kinnear?
yeah, his character's name I think is Brian. Brian,
Yeah.
they started to go and it went to the location where one of the spots where Larry had went and they couldn't figure out why the cop just let it all go. Like it seemed
Mm-hmm.
like they had all the evidence there, they had everything, and the cop broke it down. He was like, "Look, you think on paper that this looked innocent and okay, but I took 65 days and I ran with this. I went and took this up as far as I could, and I still
Mm-hmm.
couldn't beat this man." And he asked a really probing question that I think neither one of them got until Brian got it later on because it broke Lauren. Lauren was like, maybe he's innocent. Maybe I've been wrong and obsessing this the whole entire time. It broke her. But the question was basically, if you got a man that's admitting to a murder and saying he's doing all these different things, got all the evidence there, is leading for it, but then there's no evidence at all that he's there. There's no reason for him to even state that he did it. What kind of a person does that? Is it a pathological liar? My head went, this is a psychopath. This is a psychologically imbalanced person that would do something like that. But at that time, they both were thinking that, oh, okay, this is a pathological liar. This doing this for the thrill of it. You know, I think something similar to what Jared Leto in The Little Things. Yeah,
Oh
The
man,
Little
I
Things with
forgot.
Denzel Washington.
I forgot all about that movie.
Because that's what he was kind of doing.
Jimmy.
Right.
Hey, somebody was named Jimmy in that too. Ain't that something?
So it was just interesting how when they went to the bar, Lauren was like defeated. She was like, I can't do this anymore. To later on, what jump started her back to thinking, she was trying to pull Jimmy out. She was like, look, Jimmy, you think that this guy might be innocent? Like, and Jimmy's like, no, he's not innocent. And she's like, look, we can just do this. She gave him every out that you could think of. And she was like, look, I'll figure this out. We can do this. And he's like, he had this flashback to when Larry was describing what he did. Jimmy's like, nah, homie, I'm staying. Like he didn't have in his head how he's gonna figure out how to take care of the money situation, but he's like, I've got to stay, kind of thing. And then she was like, okay,
he's the only hope at that point,
right? Because he found out like if he didn't stay, that this man would walk after all of this, and it's just fascinating for her as Lauren to see him go back in. It was like, okay, there's a reason why Jimmy's trying to stay in this kind of thing. So, and then I think the same time, Brian was looking at some pictures, and what was he talking about? He was talking about the farmland and how underneath the farmland, how Larry was saying something in the scene to him about getting a whole bunch of junk stuff and reaching out to different people to pick up different junk. And I think that Brian's starting to piece some of it together where some of this is, but he hasn't figured it out yet. But he knows that there was a trigger word that with that. So I thought that was really fascinating.
Yeah.
It's a great episode, man. It was intense. It was intense.
This is a rebound episode. I think that's important for this show. It's only 6 episodes.
Right.
So technically, amazingly, in the second week, we're already halfway through the season. And they gave you a halfway through the season type of episode where you get the big enough reveals to understand exactly what Jimmy's mission is now.
Right.
There's no longer doubt if Larry is guilty. After this episode, you fully understand how sick he is. And here now, I think we're going to get possibly a greater character study on who Jimmy is.
Yeah.
Because as you dig deeper, it tends to be as you dig deeper into a serial killer, it changes you.
Right. Right. And I this is the thing. This is a weird, bad situation. This is not like Jimmy is on the outside and he's a cop, trying to go undercover. Like, no, he is a criminal in prison trying to go undercover. Meaning that if he had any ethics before, to survive, he's gonna have to do the unthinkable. That's the route that this is going, and this is from an acting standpoint. He could write his own ticket if this goes the way that I think it might go. He could write his own ticket from
this is
standpoint
for terror.
Yeah.
But hey, the person who has it locked already is Paul.
Oh yeah.
There's no doubt about it. At this point, limited series for 2023.
I guess
it's already locked. At this, there's no need to put out anything else at all. At this point, he has which will probably be supporting actor in a limited series television movie. He has that locked at this point. After 3 episodes, he has it locked.
I'm surprised they didn't nominate him this year because it started. Did it not start off on the
It didn't
cutoff?
start. Nah, it didn't start off before the cutoff point.
They should have just released that joint early because
'Cause
it might have
he's
locked stuff down
again.
this
This is
year.
an amazing cast, and after the shows we have reviewed, I would have never thought that anything would be better than Under the Sun.
Mm,
Like
yeah, yeah,
these are two performances that are better than what we got from Andrew Garfield, and his performance was amazing in that show.
yeah. He got an Emmy nomination too.
Exactly. See,
So it's gonna be real interesting. We've been picking some really good shows. I'm not gonna lie, picking some really good shows lately.
outside the terminal list, but you miss sometimes.
Anyway, we're gonna go. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell button, and we got a lot more content coming. And just reminder, we will be in San Diego next week for San Diego
Mhm.
Comic Con.
And
So
just a reminder, we'll be dropping possibly all our content from the Tribeca Film Festival while
why do you keep doing this
we're
every
in,
video?
because we have literally dropped little to nothing from the Tribeca Film Festival. And it was a film festival. So we need to drop content from it.
Yeah,
And then we'll drop also content from Comic Con. We'll have lots of vlogs, reviews coming our way. Just everything from San Diego, so you all can truly enjoy and feel immersed in the experience. You can live through it with Team JBS as me, Sam, Keaton, Colleen. It's gonna be an amazing thing to watch for everything we're going to produce for Comic Con, and yet we're still going to bring you every episode of Blackbird. We won't miss anything of it. We'll bring you I think the season finale of Old Man, which is coming up. We'll be also bringing you the stuff from Summertime Rendering and a couple of other shows that we're not allowed to talk about right now. One with a kid that knows karate, possibly. Another one with relationship of someone who used to be with a psychopath and now they're with someone who loves plants a lot. I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming up.
Anywho, we're gonna
Hey,
go.
I'm getting great at hinting at stuff. I'm letting y'all know now. I'm getting great at it at this point.
We'll see y'all later on the backside. Later, y'all.